And so a lot of people have told me that I should do some YouTube videos with the comic books and graphic novels. So thanks for watching the first one here. We're going to talk a little bit about World War One as we get started. So I've got the usual posters: causes of World War One, effects of World War One. Then we go down to some weapons in World War One, and then we come over to major battles of World War One. And we're going to talk about Battle of the Somme today. And then even the eyewitness books, which is great, and they come with these posters and everything about some of the different technologies that were used and things like that. And so these are already up in my classroom. My students have already looked at them. They're already starting to wonder about what we're doing. But before we do that, the very first thing we're going to do of class for World War One is we're going to talk about the Bayeux tapestry. And as the students wonder about that, I've mentioned it before in terms of a historical graphic novel or historical comic book, and there's some neat sources out there that will allow you to actually go through the entire graphic novel, and they're pretty easy to find. And I also have from a friend, Tyler Button, who actually created a graphic novel about the Bayeux tapestry. It's really cool, and he's a former teacher, so there's a lot there. So then we're going to jump from there, and the other thing they're wondering about is, I've already kind of set the hook, so to speak, is we have a World War I helmet replica and a World War I trench whistle. And the students are going to be encouraged to blow the whistle and wear the helmet as we then talk about Joe Sacco's The Great War. Now this is where the graphic novel comes in. This is unlike any other source that I have, and it's one of my favorite things to use. It's about the first day of the Battle of the Somme. It comes with a teacher manual, and Joe Sacco talks about why he wrote this, and in here he talks about how his inspiration was the Bayeux tapestry. And so what he does is he explains his process, and then Adam Hochschild gives a historical background on the Battle of the Somme and World War I in general. So those pieces are great. You've got the textual evidence. It is illustrated. It does break from the textbook, so to speak. It is something different, and that's all great. And then at the end, what they do is they show you in the graphic novel that I'll show you in a second. Joe Sacco actually annotates his graphic novel. And I'll just give you an example here. So you'll see a tapestry about the Battle of the Somme here that will stretch across the entire back of my classroom. And there's a lot of visualizations going on in here. And although Joe Sacco tells us some of what he thinks is going on here, it's also up to the interpretation of the reader. And that's what we want. We want textual evidence. And so as my students will go through, and I'll show you in a second, this tapestry across the back of my classroom, I will put these across my classroom as waypoints for my students to take a look at. So they can then compare it to what they think and what Joe Sacco thinks that this means. And I'm sorry I'm jumping around here. So here's the actual tapestry as we take it out. And again, I think it's $25. It is by far the best resource that I have. And so it just folds out, and I had some students in study hall take a look at this for me, and we went through it, and they were very excited for me to use this in class. So we're just going to keep going. So keep in mind your student, as the students are doing some research on World War I, they will come up one by one, and they'll come down here, and they'll be interpreting what they have that's going on. So we have the first day of the Battle of the Somme, so it's 24 hours. So then we get into the night. And what's great is, even a part in here, is these are Indian troops. When you really focus in on the details, there's so much going on here. It just absolutely blows your mind. In the cavalry that are looking to break through the next day after the artillery takes place. And we know, of course, what happens in World War I and the machine guns and trench warfare and all these things that are going on. So I'm still going. I'm about halfway through the back of my classroom. Again, just to kind of give you an idea. Now, the reason why I'm doing this, not only is it cool, not only is it engaging and interesting, but really it's skill-based. Everything that we do needs to be skill-based. Comic books and graphic novels are not just used because they're interesting or because they're something different. There's a reason. And what we need to do as social studies teachers, whether we're taking a look at political cartoons, whether we're analyzing a movie clip, a diary, whatever it might be, we want that textual evidence, we want that interpretation, we want that point of view. So if I can kind of take a step back here, and sorry again, but as you can see, this stretches the entire back of my classroom. And so this gets students out of their seats. It'll get them to interpret. It will get them to discuss. At the end of the World War I unit then, we're going to jump in, and I'm going to have my students annotate poems from World War I. And they're going to tell me what they think that they mean. Then they're going to create their own poems. And then they're going to create a visual based on their poetry. And we've done this in the past. And the things that the students come up with absolutely blow my mind. There's no set rubric for the drawing. And I give them the tools that if they're not great illustrators, that they can use things online. But the things that they do are absolutely amazing. So I want my students to think in a visual fashion, beginning this unit. And this from Joe Sacco is absolutely amazing. I will talk about other graphic novels that we use for World War I, especially Nathan Hale's World War I graphic novel as we get closer, and I'll post a couple more videos. I'd love to know what you think. Like I said, this is the first time I've done this. If I should do more videos, if you have any questions, and I appreciate you watching.
Please call